Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
So how do you effectively do some very simple marketing planning for the next couple of months or the next year? So one of our avid listeners of the Childcare Bridge wrote in and simply said, I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball. What would you do right now to start preparing for next year? So in today's episode, I wanted to just talk through how can you put a couple of things in place now so that come January, which at the time of recording is literally a couple weeks around the corner, that you're not already behind. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can do marketing strategy, marketing, like just all the battle planning, do your quarterly stuff, yearly stuff. So let me kind of talk through what I do at my different businesses, at my centers, and what I want to teach you to execute so that you can stay ahead of the curve and not stress yourself out. So the first thing that I like to do, and this may not necessarily be something that you can tackle right now, is finish up, tweak, or if you're doing it from scratch, you'd be filling out this document that I've talked about called a painted picture. The book, Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold, talks about this exact concept. It's putting onto paper, writing it as if it had already happened over the next 3 years. Now, the reason that I like to start with this is that when you then bring it down and we start to look at the next month or 2 or 3, you can be referencing this document to see, are the decisions that you're making now tied into what you want the future to look like in the next couple of years? So, for example, let's say in this document, this painted picture, you talk about having another 5 locations or another 10 locations. But when you go into next year, you're not even thinking about any kind of expansion and it's not even on your radar and you're just focused in a different way. Should that be something that you're considering for Q1 or to at least start moving the needle, knowing if you're opening a from scratch, which a lot of people call greenfield, that's not a 3-month thing. That could be a 1.5 years, for example. So you want to have that forward-looking plan, that painted picture that's 3 years out. I have found that 3 years is a perfect timeline. I've got, I think, at least 1 episode, possibly 2, we'll reference it in the show notes, where we talk about how to develop and deploy this painted picture. It's very, very simply putting down the different areas across your business, your centers, your life, money. What does the culture look like at your centers? What are you doing with your time? How much money are you making? How many team members do you have? What do they say about you? How much are you actually making? What does the profit look like? So you're putting all this to paper and you're doing some dreaming 3 years out. I always start with this document. For me, I love to update it right before the new year, and then I put it aside. So I will be updating mine next week, usually a couple of hours I will set aside, no distractions whatsoever, and then I will shelve it, and then I will look at it the first or second week, or both, of the new year. I'll make some other tweaks, and then I present that to the team so that they can go through and read it verbatim. If you didn't do anything else, if you're like, Michael, I don't have bandwidth to do anything else, so what's the one thing? That is the one thing that I want you to do. And you might push back and say, well, how does that help me for January? Well, most childcare centers that I have worked with, they are misaligned. They're not in the same realm of what you're thinking. Unfortunately, as entrepreneurs, we're thinking about all these different things. We don't convey it to our team, so this is the exercise for you to get all that stuff out of your head so your team can start to realize it. present some ideas, help you make it happen. But if no one has any clue on what you are envisioning happening, how can they help? What if you put in there that you want to pivot from a traditional daycare to having, I don't know, STEM-based curriculum intertwined with a Reggio Emilia curriculum, just as a random example. And you have nothing like that now, but you put it into this painted picture, your team reads it, and then they start to bring some ideas, or hey, we can infuse these things. Did you know there's a grant for this, or there's this new program that just came out? You got to get all of that stuff on paper, out of your head, but it also should start to give you the energy. If you do not get energized by what you're writing, you need to start over. If you're like, nah, I'm just writing it for the sake of writing it, I need you to be excited. Because when you're reading this, your team needs to be equally as excited. So that's the first document. I'm going to make the assumption that either it's a from scratch, or if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you at least have a rough draft that I want you to spend a little bit of time updating. Number two, how do I actually do the marketing planning? So this is more of the question, but I wanted to give you that aspect first. So I do not like to plan for 12 months ahead of schedule. What I like to do is put together simply in Excel, or in my case, Google Sheets. I want to put the broad strokes of what does 2026 look like. And all that I'm looking for initially are what are some of the themes that we are thinking. So the nice thing about this industry is there's themes that continue to repeat. January is traditionally the second best enrollment month. That usually should have a theme of, are you not thrilled with your center? Are you looking to make a switch? That tends to be one of the best themes. Maybe February, you say, well, let's do some kind of fun, share the love, and let's do a parent referral campaign. And then you continue to kind of go throughout the year so that you're putting a theme for the month. Now, the theme can be back to school, so that could be August and September, for example. When is your summer camp, if you have that? So maybe that starts in May and June. So you at least put some broad strokes down so you know, hey, we need to be advertising and doing marketing for X at this month so that you can start to get ahead of it. And I like to have a theme for the month just so that, again, I can get alignment with my staff, my team, my marketing agency, and so that you're not just constantly scrambling. Now from here, this is where kind of the rubber meets the road, and this is the simple way for you to have some peace of mind over the next couple of months. So I want you to then take your themes, and I want you to dial in January, February, March, Q1 of 2026. And when I say dial in, you've got your theme, but now what I want you to do is I want to see the activities behind it. So you're going to do some emails. Are you doing an open house, or I like to call them micro events rather than big open houses? Are you going to do these referral campaigns? And great, well, what is the actual how behind it? And then you continue to go through the different columns. Well, who's doing it? When is it getting done by? With what? And what's the budget? So, for example, January, if you're doing, now is a good time to switch. Do you want to come test out our center? Whatever offers you want to test out and run in that month. How are you going to get that word out? We're going to get it out through emails. We're going to put it on social media. Great. Well, which platforms? Facebook, Instagram. Do you have any others? Well, we're going to do a little video. Okay, great. Put that down. So you get all of the actual activities that are going to move that theme, the tactical stuff, in one column. You're going to put dates. Well, when are you going to send that email? Are you sending it on the 5th, the 10th? Like what day? Who's doing it? And then from there, I always like to have some budget. So how much are you willing to invest in that email, in those ads, so that you now start to know January, February, March, and I'm going to circle back on a few things in just a minute. But great, you're putting a couple $1,000s aside for January, February, a couple thousand for March. So we're simplifying. This is about simple, because if you are in the state of putting this stuff together a couple weeks before the year already starts, you are behind. So let's simplify it so that you're not starting with nothing. You're not starting from zero. So dates, the tactics, the person that is responsible. I like to say the DRI, the directly responsible individual. One person. Can't have five. Who is the one person that is responsible to make sure that email gets done and out the door, those ads go live, the event gets planned, the banners, the new signage, the text message marketing, whatever that stuff is. What are the dollars that you're putting? And then that last column, you can label it one of a few things. My favorite is to label it a grade. And then as you start to deploy these things, you simply put the results. We sent 400 emails, we had 9 replies, we had 5 tours scheduled, 1 is enrolled. And you're starting to build a very simple plan so that you can see what's actually working. And as you start to do that throughout the year, you can dust things off and say, yeah, great, we did an email on the 5th that really went over like a lead balloon. People were probably still in holiday mode. We should have waited. Let's try this one on the 10th. So as you're building out this calendar, it's kind of getting better with age, like a fine wine. It's getting better and better because you're adding notes. I like to add grades, A, B, C, D, F. Yeah, there's no E. Yeah, A, B, C, D, and then an F. You fail. For me, I typically live in the land of Fs and As. A, it generated some enrollments at a reasonable cost per enrollment. F, it went over like a lead balloon. But depending on how you like to grade, maybe you give yourself a C. Well, we had good opens, but nobody toured. It really is completely up to you. For me, again, I live in the lands of A's and F's. It worked or didn't. But as you continue to do that, again, this campaign, month over month over month, the new theme, great, now February, what are the tactics? When are you deploying them? How much money? You're starting to track all of this data to really figure out where do you want to best put your money. Now, in a perfect world, you have backed into where you want to be by the end of the year in terms of enrollments. But this can be a very slippery slope because you're going to have different age gaps. You're going to have, great, our infants are completely full, we're weak here, but you can start to back into how many enrollments are you looking to add in the first quarter. Simplify it down. Are you looking to add 10 enrollments, 3 a month essentially? Do you need 50? Do you have multiple locations? How many do you need at each? And then as you're looking at the plan, what I want you to do is to ask yourself, is this enough to drive the outcome that you're looking for? And the chances are almost always the answer is going to be no. So you might say, Michael, I want 50 enrollments by the end of February. Okay, great. Is it realistic? 100%. But you can't tell me that your marketing budget is $1,000 a month for the next 3 months. If I could deliver you 50 enrollments that are worth to you probably at minimum $1,000 a month, the average family stays 20 months, so that one enrollment is worth $20,000, and you want 50. So if I could drive you 50, so $50,000 a month, $1 million over 2 years, if I could do that with $3,000 of marketing budget, I would literally be the wizard of all wizards. So we've got to look at the data and see what's the data telling me. But as you start to back into those numbers, you can see, hey, maybe I got to up my ad spend. Maybe we need a couple of extra emails. And as you start to then deploy that, you can make some tweaks to Q1. But if you're able to even just get those themes for the year and then start putting down those activities, the who, the dollars for the first 90 days, you can start to rest knowing that, hey, we've got the theme, we know who's going to be doing what by when, and you're literally 95% ahead of everybody else. Most childcare center owners, they throw spaghetti, they're reactive, they're not planning ahead, but this gives you the peace of mind that your team can be aligned, your marketing agency like us, we're aligned, we know the themes, the promotions, the budgets, the goals. Out of everything, I'm most interested in what goal do you want? When we're looking back in 3 months, what had to have happened for this to be deemed successful? Well, that would be we drove 50 enrollments. And then I can push back and say, great, we can do that. You need 50 grand. Do you have the 50? Are you willing to invest 50 grand over 3 months? Well, no. Great. Well, then let's put a target of 20 enrollments based on your budget. And as we get those enrollments, we can throttle the budget up a little bit. Start with this vivid vision, painted picture, so that your team can see where you want to go the next 3 years. Your second action then is to, in Google Sheets and or Excel, bake out the themes for the year so you know just at a high level for all the other months, but you know the themes that you want. I always like a theme. What are we promoting? What are we trying to generate for that month? And then build out Q1, January, February, March. What are you doing? Who's doing it? What's the marketing budget? When is it going out? And then as you deploy things, put in the data, put in some notes so that you can continue to kind of build and grow with that plan. That is how you get ahead of 95+% of other childcare center owners. You execute these two things while everybody else is in holiday mode already, so that you're not panicking come January 1st. Get out there, take some action, get yourself ready to crush it in 2026. Michael Zasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.